Hi guys, Brain here, and welcome to another commentary video. Today, this one's kind of just more ventilation, to be honest. There's not really like a point to this. I just kind of want to like talk off the handle about something that I've kind of noticed in like the coming down out of the behavior pipeline, just kind of like a methodology that they're using that's just kind of, I don't know. It makes me question things, and I just wonder what's going on. So obviously, the title of the video, if you've read it, there's some weird map design choices happening in the game that it just makes me puzzled, like what goes through their mind when they make maps, because it seems like their map philosophy has kind of like gone downhill over the past year, and it puzzles me. I feel like even just like in the last like year, like the year and a half, or even like it feels like in general, like the last year and a half of the game's maps have been really awful. Like the collision's been really sloppy, it's been really unbalanced. And the reason I bring this up is because obviously we had two maps that were infamously like very, very strong and very, very frustrating to deal with, and those being, you know, Old Haddonfield and Old RPD. Both these maps were big, they had a lot of resources, they were a nightmare to traverse. Like there was a lot about both those maps that was just like really, really frustrating. A lot of like god windows and annoying stuff that just made them awful to deal with. Now behavior actually goes back and actually remakes both these maps. And usually when behavior makes a mistake, they kind of just like stick to it, right? Like that's how the dice fell, that's just how it is, so they just kind of like stick to it. They're just like, yeah, okay, well, that's whatever, you know, like we made a mistake, but oh well, it's an indie game, who cares? That's usually how kind of their methodology when it comes to that sort of thing. But they actually went back and made adjustments to these maps, completely remade Haddonfield, and split up RPD into two maps instead of the one huge map that was really annoying. And while these maps are, I feel like I enjoy them more than the old ones, they're not really a vast improvement. Like, I'll take them. Don't get me wrong, I'll take them. I would rather play on new Haddonfield than old Haddonfield. I'd rather play on the new RPDs than the old RPD. I'll say that 100%. That is how I feel. But the issue being that, like, I still hate playing on them on both sides. New Haddonfield, the god they have that house that can spawn 3 god windows that like literally, once again, like I was, you know, saying in the last video, unless you're playing like Blight, Nurse, or you know, Wesker, you're gonna have a hard time like catching up to people in those houses. The Myers house loop is incredibly strong, once again, unless you're playing a specific character. That's incredibly strong and really hard to loop. And then like the survivors aren't having fun either, because in between those houses is just like really long dead zones. The street will have like 1 or 2 pallets, if that. If that. Like the street is a huge dead zone. The places between the houses often don't have any filler pallets or anything like that. So the survivors aren't having fun, because once they get away from the houses, they're like out in the middle of no man's land and they're getting smacked for no reason. And like they didn't get really outplayed. It was just like the map just doesn't spawn things for them. So people aren't having fun on that map. Like I said, I still take that over like the Myers house god window and like all the stupid, like the free balanced landing abuse that map had. Like, well, I'll still take that. But like, it's like what replaced it still wasn't great. And the same thing with like new RPD. Our RPD was a ginormous map. They claimed it was their new biggest map. We never got a tile count on that, at least not on the wiki. But Behavior themselves claimed it was their new biggest map, and it was huge. Absolutely huge map. It was a nightmare traverse. You couldn't even use anybody besides like maybe Nurse to traverse that, because if you're playing like Blight or Wesker, well, Wesker wasn't out when that was a thing, but you know what I'm saying? Like if you're playing like a high movement character like say Blight or Billy, you're just gonna run into a bunch of walls, so you can't even like use your movement killers to like go fast and circumvent that. So it was just like a really, really huge map. It had some really busted loops. The blue room to the right, like right as you come in from the front door, that blue room with that god window, like, ugh, that was frustrating. That was very, very frustrating, because if you lagged behind even slightly in chase, like you tried to mind game for like half a second, you lose chase, so you lose your bloodlust. So you could just like take that loop so many times, and then it was just, I don't know. And they had that pallet in the middle of that room, and there was a lot of setups like that on RPD that were just like kind of like dumb. And I'm happy that the map went and got split in two, because like the previous iteration was so annoying and frustrating to deal with, but now this new map is very annoying to frustrating to deal with on both sides for that reason, for different reasons. Like the new map is really small, so that's obviously going to mean like you and the killer are interacting like a lot, which is a good thing, but like that means that like obviously if you're not in a 4-man and you're not all playing with good players, you're probably going to have your weak link found and beat the hell out of really, really quickly, which is nerve-wracking. Also, that middle zone like the lobby, because the two sides of the map aren't long anymore. That middle side of the lobby is like a really hard choke point, which is really good for killer, but really awful for survivor. So it's still like really rough to play on. And even then, like, killers don't really enjoy it either, because, like, you know, they can't, like, especially movement killers, they can't, once again, the same problems still persist. You can't use your movement abilities to get around because it's an indoor map. Even with the little outside area, it's still like you can't really traverse too much in that very freely. And a lot of killers need that freedom of movement to use their powers, even killers that don't necessarily have movement directly tied into their kit. It's just like having that line of sight, being able to know where people are. Like, I don't know. It's just like, I don't know what's happening. And I guess I would want to like levy your opinion. It's like, what is going on with like the map design? I feel like it's just been really like mediocre, like for the last like year and a half so. And even when they like actually go to update the maps, it's like, even though they fix some things, they introduce completely new problems. And I just kind of like, I don't get it. I don't know how they rationalize it. I really don't know how they rationalize these things. And I don't know if it's just impossible, like there's too many variables to get it right, or if it's just like they're just not getting something. Let me know down in the comments below, because I'm a little lost with that. I'm a little disappointed. So let me know. But other than that, it's gonna be it for today's video, friends. Thank you so much for watching. But if I don't see you tomorrow, I'll see you when I see you. Goodbye.